spiritual, and educational practices of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Hello and welcome. My name's Trudy, and tonight we will be discussing topics including what is UAC? We'll talk about key facts about the ATAR, who can apply via UAC, everything applications, including preferences and offers. So to start with, what is UAC? Well, the University's Admissions Centre, of course, processes applications for 29 different institutions across New South Wales and the ACT. We also administer applications for our access schemes, which of course we'll talk about in a few moments. However, the one thing that we are most known for is the fact that UAC calculates the ATAR for all New South Wales HSC students. So here are a couple of key points about the ATAR. The ATAR, of course, is a rank. It is not a mark or a score and will not define you as a student for the rest of your academic career. The ATAR is also telling us about where you are, your overall position amongst all other students in the state. Now, the only thing you can control is how well you're going to perform across your HSC. You can't control your ATAR because you can't control where everybody or how everybody else is performing. And of course, to be eligible, you must have 10 units of study, which include 2 units of English and no more than 2 units of Category B courses. So for those students taking Category B courses, you must of course sit that optional HSC exam if you want it to be included in the ATAR calculation. So when we do the calculation of the ATAR, of course, we're using scaled marks and not your HSC marks. Scaling is just, of course, the first step in the calculation, and it is done to, of course, create a more even playing field so that no student is either advantaged or disadvantaged because of their course choice. So what is the ATAR used for? We often get asked this question. The ATAR, of course, is used for universities to rank and select students into their courses. If you consider that the selection rate for each course is about supply and demand, then the ATAR is the one way universities can control the number of students that they can take into each course. So many people these days say that universities don't use the ATAR for entry. However, they are usually talking about early entry, where Year 11 results are being considered. So once again, it's still about the numbers. And for many early entry schemes, universities will cap the number of places and or still require a minimum ATAR. So let's now look at who can apply through UAC. A domestic applicant is someone who is, of course, an Australian or New Zealand citizen, a permanent resident of Australia, or a permanent resident with a humanitarian visa. And these students, of course, should apply through the undergraduate course website. All other students are classified as and can apply or should apply through UAC International. Each year, UAC runs by a calendar of dates, which I'm sure that you are aware, and all these dates are listed on the UAC website. But let's talk about some of the key dates. The key dates for 2025 entry started today, with the applications opening this morning. The next important date is for students who are applying for the Schools Recommendation Scheme, or SRS, and the closing date for this application is the 16th of September. So application should be. The next important date is for students who are applying through Nation, and this is what we call early bird close, which will be on the 30th of September. Now, this has got nothing to do with early entry. It just means that you'll be paying a more standard price of over 200. So we encourage all students to put an application prior to the 30th of September. For students applying for the school's recommendation scheme, your next important date will be the 1st of November, which is when the applications for SRS will close. Then on the 8th of November, we will release first lottery. The next important date for students, of course, is a date we all like looking forward to, and that is ATAR Day. This is the same day that NESA will release HSC results as well, and that is Wednesday, the 18th of December. Now, from there, students will only have until midnight to get their preferences in order for the first ATAR-based offer round, which will be released on the 23rd of December. After that, of course, we have another big offer round in January. And of course, the second for offers to then be released on the 9th. So if you're waiting for a medicine offer, then January will be your month. So let's talk about the applications. As I said, applications opened online this morning, the 3rd of April. I can't believe we're already here. Now, students in New South Wales or the ACT should have received an email at 9 a.m. this morning with their UAC PIN and information about how they are to apply. Students applying will need their NESA or BSSS number and the UAC PIN that was set to them this morning. Now, all student number will be their date of birth, so day, month. Students will also need a USI, the unique identifier, to add to this application, which will be a mandatory field. Now, students who are from interstate or doing the IB may need to wait a little bit longer to apply, as we don't have your data right at this moment to actual schools. International students will have to wait until the 17th of this month to lodge an application, as we do stagger the opening days. Now, students must apply by the 16th of September if they're applying, of course, for the school's recommendation scheme, or the 30th of September to pay the early bird fee only. Now, of course, when applications opened this morning, so did our access schemes, which I'd like to talk a little bit about so that you've got a bit of a general idea of what else is available to you. The first scheme I'd like to talk to you about is the school's recommendation scheme. And of course, we've already talked about the dates for that. Now, this is a centralised application for approximately 12 different universities. Entry is based on your Year 11 results and the school's recommendation. Students from New South Wales and the ACT only need to submit the SRS application, as UAC can retrieve your Year 11 results from NESA or the BSSS. Interstate or IB students will have to upload their Year 11 results because UAC doesn't have access. Once all the results are in, of course, we will contact all schools to do the rating of the students who have applied for the school's recommendation scheme.
Now, there are a lot of other direct applications for early entry, and it is really up to the student as to how many applications they will put in for early entry. But we would certainly recommend that your UAC application should come first, and then all the other early entry schemes that you are applying for can be done at a later date. Next up, I'd like to talk to you about the Educational Access Scheme. This is a special consideration scheme for students experience difficulties through years 11 and 12, and it is recommended that you read through each one of these circumstances that may relate to you. package after you've submitted the application, which will then advise you about the documentation you will need to provide to UAC so that we can make a full assessment of this application. Things such as an applicant statement, an educational impact statement, just to name a few. If they are into the course where the selection rate is rank is, I'd like to tell you about that you can apply for these scholarships. This scholarship is about money to support students' financial hardship. There are circumstances which students can apply by consideration. However, in demonstrating your financial difficulties through a link. Now, there are many scholarships that universities can apply for, which are direct with each institution. And I would highly recommend that you look at all the different possibly more about scholarships, because universities have millions of dollars to give away. And at the end of each year, they generally tell us that they haven't had enough students apply. Now, many students look at themselves and say, oh, well, they me. But I would certainly, as I said before, encourage you to visit website or join us, which will be. So let's now look at a few points to get you into those courses. You should be looking at other courses that may help you get to where you want to be. Even if it is a diploma course or a pathway course, you should explore all universities that offer courses you to open up your options. Content for a more in-depth understanding of what the course is about. And fourthly, or you should open now those courses you wish to apply for. Let's talk about adjustment. With the ATAR to change your selection rank, which universities use to rank and select students into their courses. There are two adjustments that students have to apply for. These are subject adjustments, meaning an HSC course that relates to the university degree you're wanting to get into. For example, maths engineering. That is, of course, a great example, because maths really relates to engineering. Quick sip, because I'm talking much. Now, the others are location adjustments, meaning that you live within a catchment of the university, so adjustment points may be applied. Now, equal and cast different, of course, preferences.
Accept your offer, then you can, of course, remove. If you don't remove the original offer, it will block you from any other offers in the next round. Now, a few facts that you can only receive one offer per. There are 2 offer rounds per month from November through to March. November is when early offers will go out to Year 12 students who have applied for LS. And for December round 2, which is the first ATAR-based offer round to be considered for another offer, once again, you should
round. We do have a couple of questions, which I think we're going to be handed. Now we were asked, does all this information apply to Victorian students? Absolutely. As I said, interstate students can apply through UAC. You acting just as a V12. I will go on to keep saying that students are said, as I said, if they get an offer, they should accept it straight away. Okay, don't let that offer lapse. In general, you will only have about 7 days to accept the offer. So as soon as you know you've got it, press that accept button. And then if you want to be considered again, go straight in, remove the offer that you got. You're not going to lose it. Just remove the offer that you got and then change them around before the next close of preference dates. Okay. Now, all the dates will be on the UAC website, along with all the other information about the access schemes and so forth. So I would really implore you to get onto the website and do a bit of research. We do, of course, put emails out to schools, and your careers advisor should be able to advise you going forward. But of course, once again, after the ATAR has been released, if you get an offer based on your ATAR and you want to be considered again, once again, you would just, of course, repeat the same steps. Accept the offer straight away, remove the preference or that offer from your preference list, rearrange them. That means you can add them, remove them, have a whole new 5, whatever it is that you like to do, but get them in by the next close of preference date, but then all 5 preferences to be considered. It's as simple as that. Now I'm just waiting for the next question. Should you be putting preferences in now? It really depends on what you're applying for. As I said, although we have a number of institutions with early entry schemes, with UAC, so Schools Recommendation Scheme, not all courses are available. Now, you could have 3 preferences there for the Schools Recommendation Scheme and 2 preferences that aren't. It really is up to you. If there are courses listed on your application at this stage that are not included in the Schools Recommendation Scheme, we will still look at it. We'll just bypass it and look at the ones or the preferences that you have for the Schools Recommendation Scheme. Does that make sense? I think so. But once again, I will just say it. It's really up to you how you order them. You can have some SRS preferences and some non-SRS preferences even in November, or you can have all 5 SRS preferences. It's really up to you how you wish to make that decision. Now, one thing I will say about the Schools Recommendation Scheme, prior to the offers going out, you may have many institutions advising you that they are considering your application, and you should list them as the first preference. However, you can only put one course as your first preference. So therefore, think very carefully about which one it is that you would really like, okay? Because it is still about course preference. We will look at every single course preference that you have and give you an offer to your highest listed eligible preference, but only one, okay? So just remember that, only one. If you get an offer, fantastic. You can, of course, as we keep saying, accept it, remove it, change them around for the next offer round, and maybe be considered again for another SRS in November round 2, which I've not talked about the dates for. But those dates, of course, will be on the UAC website. Okay, so the next question is, what if I don't get the ATAR to get me into the course I really want? Now, when you get your ATAR, as I said, you've got until midnight on the same day to get your preferences in order. So you will look at your ATAR, you will look at what we call the lowest selection rank for the course, or the LSR, which will be published on all the UAC booklets or website. And you can then say, right, well, here's my ATAR, it's a 75. The course I really want to get into is a 90. Let's see how many adjustment factors I may be eligible for. In general, it won't get you to that 90 if you've got a 75 ATAR. However, my suggestion to you would be, if that course is your dream course, I would still list it as your first preference. And then, of course, you should, or hopefully, have done all your research, and you may have looked at another course or the same course at a different university where the entry point or the lowest selection rank for the course is lower. So you may start at that university into your degree. But once again, look at the lowest selection rank, check out the adjustment factors that you may be eligible for, make some considerations around the numbers that you've got, and get your preferences in order. Now, let's say, for instance, you've had a really disastrous year, and sometimes this happens. And I would say to you, please don't worry about that, okay? Many institutions have diploma courses or prep courses that you could certainly list on your application. And diploma courses are a fantastic way of getting you on that pathway to the degree you're wanting. In many cases, if you study a diploma course, you then mainly get guaranteed entry. And in many cases, you get full credit for that year and are actually starting in the second year of that degree. So once you've finished your degree, you end up with two qualifications, a completed diploma and a completed bachelor degree. So it's a really good way of thinking that, things have gone bad. My ATAR is really not that fantastic. It's not going to get me to where I want to be. But what other, pathway courses are there that are going to get me to where I want to end up? A lot of students say to me, well, isn't that just wasting time? Please don't ever think that you are wasting time. Everybody takes a different pathway and everyone takes their own time to get where they want to be. Some students take extra time at uni because they get into a course and then at the end of the first year you think, well, I selected that because I thought I was going to love it, but it's actually not my passion and I found something else that I'd really like to study. And so therefore change courses. Now, to change course, sometimes they can do an internal transfer if it's at the same university, or if it's a different university, that they would just apply back through UAC to be considered not just based on ATAR, but also based on the first year of your university studies. So that's a lot of information, but there's many ways of changing your course as you go through. It's like there's many ways of getting you into university. The ATAR is just the first port of call, basically. Is there any more questions coming through, Georgia? Is it no, it's not the only it's not the only advantage of applying through UAC. With UAC, of course, we have many different offer rounds. If you're applying direct for the early entry schemes, usually there's only one or two offer rounds. With UAC, as I said, we have 2 offer rounds per month. We have 3 offer rounds for the school's recommendation scheme. And then after that, we have quite a number. I think it's about another 7 or 8 offer rounds where it's based on ATAR. So you've got quite a lot of opportunity to change preferences and get different offers to different courses to then make a decision about which degree it is that you're wanting to study. Now, as I said, not all courses are available for early entry and not all universities have early entry. And those students who are looking at those highly competitive courses, of course, will need to apply through UAC. Anything else that we can help with today, Georgia? Okay, so the question was that some students are worried about their Year 11 results and don't feel they've done as well as they're doing in Year 12. And will their Year 12 grades be considered for early entry? The answer is no, we don't consider Year 12 results for early entry, only Year 11. But I would say to you, please don't worry, because there's lots of different factors involved, and the school's recommendation, of course, comes into that consideration. All I would do is just concentrate your hardest on improving those marks in Year 12, because at the end of the day, there are many, 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 many offers given via the ATAR. So once again, it's proving that the UAC application is of lots of benefit to students, so they can be considered, with both lots of results, one their Year 11 and the other with their ATAR. So, as I said earlier, one thing I would like to point out is that we will have quite a number of webinars throughout the year where we are talking more in depth about things such as the school's recommendation scheme or educational access scheme. And we will, of course, talk about pathway courses in more depth as well. As we get to the end of the year, of course, and when the ATAR is released, we'll also have a webinar just around ATAR time to advise you on your next steps once you get your ATAR. So we'll go through this information again throughout the year. You'll also receive emails from UAC throughout the year, just giving you some updates on what's coming and important dates. So look out for those. And of course, your school careers advisor should be able to help you. I'll just find out if there's any further questions that we need to answer. But apart from that, if there isn't, we'll be able to let you go for the evening. So, Georgia, is there anything further that we need to discuss this evening? It's really great, actually, to have so many people with us tonight. Last week, we had a webinar and we had some connection issues. So it's really great that we don't this evening, which means that we're able to convey the message to a lot more people and not have to listen later. However, if you would like to listen to this webinar again, just to go over things that I've said, you'll be able to replay it through our YouTube channel, where we have lots of different content that you can certainly watch. And you can subscribe. And of course, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, it will give you notifications about what's next. Okay. So the question is around medicine. Now, medicine is one of those highly competitive courses, and we have 3 different undergraduate medical programs. One is with UNSW, which is a standalone undergraduate medical program. Then we have New England and Newcastle University that has a joint program, and then Western Sydney and Charles Sturt with the joint program. So that's 3 preferences. Now, those preferences have to be listed on the application, I think by the end of September. And they have to stay there. They can't be removed, because if you remove them, of course, then that means you won't be able to usually add them again. So just be aware of that and maybe look on the website to make sure that you're doing everything appropriately. Then you've got two preferences that you can play with for early entry. Now, as we said, not all courses are available, so it really depends on what it is that you want to be considered for and which universities you want that consideration with. So, as I said, you have got those 2 preferences to play with, and you can list your 3 medical preferences as your 1, 2, and 3, and then the last 2 will be considered. When it comes to us considering the preferences for, to make offers, we look at all 5 preferences equally, and you're just given an offer to your highest listed eligible preference. For the November round 1, which is SRS, course preferences and offers, we will, of course, bypass those medicine preferences and just look at the last 2 if they are with universities that are included in SRS, and you'll be given an offer to one of those courses if eligible. If you get an offer, of course, once again, it's just about accepting the offer straight away so it doesn't lapse, removing the offer from your preference list, and then you can play around with another preference on that application. Now, as I said earlier, medicine is highly competitive. Of course, you must sit the UCAT test. Once that is all done, of course, and the ATAR comes out, you would then be considered for interview, which is the third component of entry. Now, if you're not being made an offer for interview, then it may be that you're not going to be considered for one of those medicine programs. And therefore, you know, if we're getting past January, then it might be a good idea to remove those preferences and add something else. But there's lots of opportunity to keep changing your preferences throughout the whole program, except keep those medicine preferences there once you apply till after the offers will have come out in January. That way you know that they're there and you've still got those other two preferences to play around with. Now, something that I need to inform you about, which I forgot about, and I'm sorry about that, but with the courses, now if you go in to apply now or any time in the next few weeks, you'll find that some of the courses for next year will not be available for you to list. And that is because the universities are updating all the time the courses that will be there for you to apply for. So yes, there will be some courses, but some courses won't be. Another thing you need to be aware of, is that many courses are listed at the moment will be for semester 2 entry. So look at the details carefully, because it'll tell you for what time the course is being offered. So whether it's been offered for semester 2 or whether it's been offered for semester 1, 2025. So be aware of that. Now, you won't be considered at all for semester 2 preferences. Okay, so you also be aware of that as well. You cannot list them on that application. So once again, just a reminder, not all courses are available just yet to put on the application. They will be all there by the 1st of August. So if you can't find it now, don't worry. It will be there. It will just be later on. And once, of course, you've submitted your application, you can keep changing those preferences around. You're not restricted. A lot of students think that the courses you've got listed are the ones you are stuck with. No, just pop your application in, submit it. Okay, submit means you're just submitting the application, but you can go in and change preferences later on. With EAS and SRS, it is all part of the application. You will find the link to these schemes after you've submitted the application, or you can go back into manage your application and find the links there as well. So there's a couple of ways you can do it. So they are part of the uni application. One other thing I thought of, can't remember it. I'm sure it will come to me in a moment, but just one more thing. Georgia, any other questions? Fantastic. Look, I would really like to thank you all for coming this evening. Once again, I hope it helped you guide you through some of the admission cycle. If you want to keep up with what's happening, hit the subscribe button to receive notifications about all upcoming webinars. And once again, thanks for joining us. Good night. Good luck. Now, apparently we did have a few sound issues. We do have a recording and you can go to our YouTube to rewatch this if you wish. Thank you.